4. Senator Sheffel, I think we are going to hear the choir before we come to order. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. Request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Folks, we have a special treat for you here from the Colorado School of Mines, one of actually the smartest choir in the state, from the best university we have to offer, and their director, Robert Klimek. I want to introduce you Colorado School of Mines Harmonic and Melodic Miners. Get the double entendre.
All right, the good times are over. The Senate will come to order. Mr. Majors, please call the roll. All right, why don't we do the pledge? Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Guests and colleagues, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Majors, please call the roll.
Senators Aguilar, Baumgartner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, John, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez-Humenick, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Scheffel, Scott, Sonnenberg, Stedman, Tate, Todd, Ulibarri,
Excused.
Woods. Mr. President.
Here. With 34 present, 0 absent, 1 excused, we have a quorum. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the journal be adopted as, all right, let me start that all over again.
Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the journal of February 11th, 2016 be dispensed with and corrected and be adopted as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion a couple of times. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is approved and the journal is adopted. Co-sponsors. Reports of committees of reference.
February 11, 2016, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Joint Memorial 1 be amended as follows. Now submitted and referred out to the Senate for final action. February 11, 2016, Committee on Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Energy. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 7 be amended as follows. Now submitted and referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 11, 2016, Committee on Health and Human Services. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 94 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 11, 2016, Committee on Finance. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 73 be amended as follows. Now so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 11, 2016, Committee on Finance. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 121 be amended as follows. Now so amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 16 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 17 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 27 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 30 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 34 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 89 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 90 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 91 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 92 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 93 be referred to the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 12, 2016, Committee on Appropriations. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends following Senate Bill 95 be amended amended as follows, and that's amended before the committee of the whole favorable recommendation, with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. February 11, 2016, Committee on Transportation. After consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 87 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations.
General orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of the general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, consent calendar. Senator Neville will take the chair.
The committee will come to order and the court rule is relaxed. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of the bills listed on the consent calendar?
Senate Bill 107 by Senator Cook and Representative Bone concerning the regulation of voter registration drive circulators and connection therewith requiring circulators to complete mandatory training. House Bill 1018 by Representatives Carver and Mitch Bush and Senator Todd concerning the requirement that the Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee provide advice and comments regarding transportation-related matters to both the Department of Transportation and the Transportation Commission rather than to the department only. Senate Bill 63 by Senator Roberts and Representative Vigil concerning the authority of a local government to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with an out-of-state local government to provide critical public services.
Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the committee adopt the bills listed on the general orders second reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 107, House Bill 1018, Senate Bill 63, and its corresponding local government committee report.
Is there discussion on the bills listed on the general orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the bills on the general orders second reading of bills consent calendar. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, all in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Scheffel, the motion before us is the adoption of the committee report. No. Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to regroup here, there's three bills listed on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar: Senate Bill 107, House Bill 1018, and Senate Bill 63. Ask for approval of the bills. In the case of Senate Bill 63, for its associated local government committee report.
You've heard the motion. Thanks. We have a motion for the adoption of the associated committee reports. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Committee reports adopted. Senator Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point, would ask for an aye vote in adoption of the three bills listed on the general order second reading of bills consent calendar, which is Senate Bill 107, House Bill 1018, and Senate Bill 63. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there discussion on the bills listed on the general orders consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of the bills on the general orders, second reading of bills consent calendar. All in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the bills are adopted. Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. Those in favor say aye. Those no. Motion is adopted.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and had several bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
February 12, 2016, Mr. President, your committee of the whole brings the report is that under consideration the following task bills being second reading thereof makes following recommendations as are on. Senate Bill 107, Senate Bill 63 is amended, passed on second reading in order to gross, place the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1018 passed on second reading in order to revise, place the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Neville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the report.
You have heard the motion. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Senate Bill 107, Senate Bill 63 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1018 passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Committee reports.
February 10, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has under consideration as that hearing on the following appointments recommends appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Board of Trustees for Fort Lewis College, effective December 31st, 2015, for term expiring December 31st, 2019. Stephen Ray Short of Durango, Colorado, serves as an unaffiliated, reappointed. February 11, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration as that hearing on the following appointments recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the State Board of Community Colleges and Occupational Education, effective December 31st, 2015, for term expiring December 31st, 2019. Teresa Kathleen Pena of Denver, Colorado, serves as a resident of the 1st Congressional District and as a Democrat, reappointed. Byron Nelson McLeany of Evergreen, Colorado, serves as a resident of the 2nd Congressional District and as a Democrat, reappointed. February 11, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration and at the hearing on the following appointments recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education for terms expiring July 1st, 2017. Thomas Oliver McGimsey of Louisville, Colorado, resident of the 2nd Congressional District and a Republican, occasioned by the resignation of Virginia M. Rodriguez of Denver, Colorado, appointed for terms expiring July 1st, 2019. Terrence Villafagan of Golden, Colorado, resident of the 7th Congressional District and a Democrat, appointed. February 11, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration at that hearing on the following appointments recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education, effective July 1st, 2015, for term expiring July 1st, 2019. John Lewis Anderson of Durango, Colorado, serves as a member west of the Continental Divide and as a representative of the 3rd Congressional District and as a Republican, reappointed. February 11, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration at the hearing on the following appointments recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the College Invest Board of Directors for terms expiring July 31st, 2019. Martha Marty J. Awad of Denver, Colorado, appointed. Douglas W. Lyon of Durango, Colorado, reappointed. February 11, 2016, Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration at the hearing on the following appointments recommends the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the College Invest Board of Directors for terms expiring July 31st, 2016. Jason B. Maples of Greenwood Village, Colorado, reappointed. For terms expiring July 31st, 2018. Sarah R. Williamson of Aurora, Colorado, reappointed. February 11, 2016, Committee on Education, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 45 be postponed indefinitely. February 11, 2016, Committee on Education, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 79 be amended as follows and as amended before the Committee of the Whole. Favorable recommendation.
Colleagues, we're waiting on a resolution from the House, so we are going to stand in recess until we acquire it. The Senate will be in recess. The Senate will come back to order. Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move a call of the Senate.
A call has been moved. It has been sustained. Sergeants, would you please secure the doors and retrieve the senators? Mr. Majors, would you call the roll?
Senators Aguilar, Baumgartner, Carroll, Cook, Crowder, Donovan, Garcia, Grantham, Guzman, Heath, Hill, Hodge, Holbert, Johnston, Jones, Kafalis, Kerr, Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Martinez Humanic, Merrifield, Neville, Newell, Roberts, Sheffel, Scott,
Excused.
Sonnenberg, Stedman, Tate, Todd, Ulibarri,
Excused.
Woods. Garcia, Jones,
Doesn't close till 8. Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the call be raised.
Without objection, the call will be raised. Message from the House.
February 12, 2016, Mr. President, the House has adopted transmitted with House Joint Resolution 1008.
Introduction of resolution.
House Joint Resolution 1008 by Representatives Joshi and Janal and Senator Lambert concerning honoring the life of Mahatma Gandhi.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 10008 and ask that it be read at length.
Delay that one moment. We are going to have a request to proceed out of order, I believe. Majority Leader Sheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we can take up House Joint Resolution, would move that the Senate proceed out of order for the purpose of taking up House Joint Resolution 1008.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for the purpose of resolution, House Joint Resolution 1008. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1008?
House Joint Resolution 1008 by Representatives Joshi, Janal, and Senator Lambert concerning honoring the life of Mahatma Gandhi.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that we're in back in general orders here, I will move again House Joint Resolution 10008 and ask that it be read at length.
Whereas Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, later known as Mahatma, which means great soul, was born October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar, located in the present-day Indian state of Gujarat. And whereas as a young man, Gandhi went to London to study law at the Inner Temple and returned to India in 1891, and he set up a law practice in Bombay. And whereas in 1893, Gandhi accepted a job that took him to South Africa, where he spent the next 20 years. And whereas not long after arriving in South Africa, Gandhi was traveling by train with a first-class ticket, but was asked to move to third class because he was Indian. When he refused, he was thrown off the train. And whereas Gandhi would later describe the train incident as a turning point when he decided to fight injustice and defend his rights as an Indian, and he soon began developing and practicing the concept of satyagraha, or passive resistance. And whereas Gandhi spent the next 20 years in South Africa fighting racial segregation, including practicing non-cooperation with relevant authorities in the wake of required registration for all Indians. And whereas upon his return to India, Gandhi spread his message of nonviolent civil disobedience through non-cooperation and peaceful protests aimed at achieving independence from the British. And whereas one of Gandhi's most famous protests began on March 12, 1930, when he led a 241-mile march to the Arabian Sea in response to a British tax on salt, which became known as the Salt March. And whereas over the years, Gandhi led and encouraged acts of peaceful, passive resistance, including hunger strikes, labor strikes, nonviolent marches, and other forms of civil disobedience. And whereas besides independence from British rule, Gandhi sought to overcome the Hindu-Muslim disunity in India and fought against the Hindu tradition of the caste system that led to discrimination against those born to the lowest social class. And whereas Gandhi was jailed many times as a result of his protests, but he always spoke for peace and forgiveness and believed in a single unified India. And whereas India was granted its independence from Britain in 1947 through internal tension, though internal tensions remained. And whereas on January 30th, 1948, Gandhi was assassinated while on his way to a prayer meeting. And whereas Gandhi left behind a legacy of peace, nonviolence, and acceptance of others in his efforts for justice, unity, and freedom. Now therefore be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 70th General Assembly of the State of Colorado, the Senate concurring herein, that we honor the life of Mahatma Gandhi, who dedicated his life to fighting injustices with nonviolence and peaceful resistance. Be it further resolved that copies of this joint resolution be sent to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, the Honorable Indian Ambassador to the United States, Mr. Arun Singh, the Honorable Consul General of India in Houston, Mr. P. Harish, Mr. Manu Raval of the Gandhi Group of Colorado, and Dr. Vednanda Hindu Swayamursak Singh.
Senator Lambert, colleagues and guests, please be seated.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much for your attention to this important resolution. I won't speak very long about this, but I think all of us recollect things about the times when we have studied or learned or experienced different historical events that reference Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was certainly one of the most influential men on the 20th century. And it occurs to me today, on a day that's actually Abraham Lincoln's birthday. We celebrate it now on a different day. But there are lots of parallels between the common human experience that has been experienced in India and in the United States. For one thing, we had some problems with the British to start out with. But we also had I think, a system of culture and laws which created respect for the law. I think the legacy of Mahatma Gandhi and the connection with Martin Luther King is very important to recognize. That not just in their style, but also in their appeal to the rule of law that protects all individuals. Historically, also at the time that we think most about the movements for independence in India, there were similar times to the American Civil War. It followed a horrendous loss of life in World War II, just as the Civil War was our most expensive historical experience in America for the loss of life that occurred here. India was very involved with that war as part of the British Empire. And at the end of the Civil War, I think there are many cases where Abraham Lincoln, in grieving over the loss of life, over the loss of unity, was moved to think about, to summarize the experiences they had gone through, and then to look ahead to a better way. One quote from Abraham Lincoln that came to my mind was, with malice toward none, with charity or love for all, with firmness in the right. As God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in and to bind up the nation's wounds. I think without an enlightened process to heal the wounds of World War II, not just in India, but throughout the world as we looked at decolonialization, of more participation, of more international dialogue through the United Nations and through mutual understandings and communications between governments, that we moved on from an era of great belligerence and great death and great pain to one that was hopefully moving ahead, continues to move ahead with an understanding of peace and understanding when we have conflicts that we will try to resolve those conflicts in the best way that we can. Mahatma Gandhi was certainly able to influence the appeal to peace, to the appeal of human rights, and I think we all celebrate that today. So I would ask for your affirmative vote for House Joint Resolution 10008, and thank you very much.
Senator Koufalos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues and guests. I rise in support of HJR 1008. I appreciate the good senator from Colorado Springs for being the Senate sponsor. I think that Mohandas Gandhi, or Mahatma Gandhi, his life was something that provided an example of how we can engage with one another without violence in a different way. And it's interesting that I think it was mentioned in the resolution, the term satyagraha, but there's also another term, ahimsa, which that Mr. Gandhi put forth. And as I understand the term ahimsa, it relates to truth force. So the idea of nonviolent resistance and the idea of speaking truth to power, and always doing this from a place of love and compassion. People like Dr. Martin Luther King, we honor his life. People like Cesar Chavez, we honor his life. And there are many others who learned from the life of Mohandas Gandhi. And it's interesting, too, that in terms of religion, Mr. Gandhi was Hindu, but he recognized the commonality of all religions. And I think he learned a lot from those of us who believe in the Sermon on the Mount and the teachings of Christ. And I think he was an embodiment of the Golden Rule, which many of the major religions embrace, which is that we should treat one another as we would ask folks to treat us. And so in closing, I'm glad that we're doing this. I'm glad that we're taking time. If you come to my office, you'll see that one of my posters is a number of good pictures that some folks brought to me from India, from the monument where he was assassinated, and it shows the footsteps of Mr. Gandhi as he was going to a prayer meeting and as he was killed. So it is a good thing that we're taking the time. I think we need examples of how to do things in a different way, without violence. There's a lot of violence in the world, and I think that this is more than just, well, sort of a feel-good thing, because there's actual documented historical evidence where nonviolent resistance has proven to be very successful. I give you the civil rights movement in the United States. I give you the nonviolent movement by and large in the country of Chile to overcome a dictatorship there. The Polish independence movement, the Danish and how they resisted the Nazis during World War II, South Africa and the nonviolent efforts to address the issues and ultimately end apartheid. So there are many examples of where the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi have helped us to learn different ways to do things. Thank you for listening, colleagues.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise in support of House Joint Resolution 1008. And I do want to add, I've had personal teachings from Gandhi have really guided the shape of my career. And in not even before the Senate, in my personal life, I have looked at many times at his writings and at his example of that common sense of humanity that brings us all together, not in necessarily a pacifist way, but in a way of the civil resistance, of the peace resistance, that you can make change without conflict or without violence. There is conflict, but the violence is not necessary. And his example of that has really made a difference in my personal life, in my daughters' lives, and in those whom I work with in the conflict resolution world. So I want to give great thanks for the senator for bringing it forward, but also in my experience this last year, my daughter lived in India for a while and had some great experiences there, and we would share via Skype. That's how we could communicate at that time. And she came back with stories and stories of the peace that is there in that country. And yet there's conflict, but she did not experience the violence. And so I want to say thank you for bringing this forward, but also to our guests, namaste.
Is there further discussion? Senator Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you so much, Senator, for bringing this resolution, and thank you to our guests for being here. I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts. There is a favorite anecdote of Gandhi that I used as a teacher, which is there is this wonderful moment where a mother brings her young child to visit Gandhi, and people will line up for long periods of time to see him, and she brings him and says, "Gandhi, I need you to tell my son to stop eating sugar because it's so bad for him, and he eats too much sugar." And she gets up to see Gandhi, and he says, "Why don't you leave and come back next week?" She says, "I've waited so long in line to get to see you, and all I wanted to do was this one thing, just tell my son the right thing to do." And then, of course, she leaves, and she comes back a week later and or sometime later and brings her son, and Gandhi sits this young man down and says, I need to tell you that it's really important for you to stop eating sugar because your mom is very worried about your health." And he leaves, and the boy is very affected. And as she leaves, she says to Gandhi, "Thank you, but why did I have to come back twice?" And he said, "Well, I had to first stop eating sugar myself before I could bring your son in and tell him that I thought he had to stop eating sugar." And I just thought in a moment in a world where it's so easy for us to tell folks how they ought to live their lives without first expecting the same amount of sacrifice, even with something small like can you tell a kid to do the right thing. Gandhi was so sincere about living the life that he invited others to live that he wouldn't have even advised a child not to eat a lollipop without first making that sacrifice himself. it's amazing to me. I was able to go to Mumbai last year and got to go visit one of the homes where Gandhi lived there. And it is amazing when you think about the world as it existed then, or even as it exists now. And the concept that one man believed you could take down what was in many ways the most powerful empire in the history of the world without firing a single shot. And that is not a concept that I think if you look at any international challenge right now and believe, oh, well, you could solve Syria if you just had a coordinated effort of nonviolence. And the notion of what it took to overcome the British Empire was so much more comprehensive than that, and yet he dreamed that vision and made it into reality. I will say that in America, we often take time to celebrate all the things that we have exported to the rest of the world. I think today is a day to be profoundly grateful for one of America's great imports, which is if you look at the writings of Dr. King, if you look at it in the celebrations in Black History Month, Dr. King said when he accepted the Nobel Prize that there is probably no person in history who has mobilized or galvanized more people throughout his lifetime than Gandhi did. And he set the template for how this country went through our own civil rights revolution. And if you look at the legacy of the last 50 years, maybe two of the most profound successes for freedom and equality were the United States civil rights movement and Mandela's leadership in South Africa, both of them so directly seeded and led by Gandhi that I think it is not just our gift to celebrate, but our chance to say thank you for the incredible export that was India's great gift to the world. And in closing, I'll just say what was most compelling to me is that you can look at, when you go to Gandhi's house, his possessions when he died. And if you haven't seen them, when he died, he owned, among all of his homes and all of his houses and all the places he'd walk, he owned 8 things. He had 1 tunic, 1 pair of shoes, glasses, a stopwatch, and a couple of books. And I have more things on my desk right now than he had in his possession when he died. When you think about what it is, the legacy that you leave, for him it was not the possessions or the products, but what it was a world that was so profoundly changed that you would have in continents as far away as Africa and the United States an entirely different set of beliefs about how we might learn to live together, to love together, and to change the world together. That's probably the greatest possession he could leave us. So thank you.
Is there further discussion? Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some of you have seen the movie Rodney Dangerfield, Back to College, and somebody asked him, what do you know about Alexander the Great? And he said, oh, he was great. When we think of some of our day-to-day lives here, and we get a little bit shallow when we think about great people. And greatness is often attributed to Mahatma Gandhi, but yet we don't scratch down the surface to find out why. And I appreciate my colleague from Fort Collins mentioning that in application, the principles taught by Jesus in Christianity are very similar to many principles of Buddhism and Hinduism and many of the great religions and philosophies of the world. And one that comes to mind is Jesus said, to be the greatest, you must be the servant of all. And I think that's a common thing that we've shared from the experience and the application that we've seen through Mr. Gandhi. And I would renew my motion for a favorable vote on House Joint Resolution 10008.
Is there further discussion? Seeing none, are there any no votes? With 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1008 is adopted. Senator Lambert.
Thank you. I move that the morning roll call be added as co-sponsors on House Joint Resolution 10008.
Without objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. The Senate will stand in a brief recess so that, Senator Lambert.
Recess first.
Right. The Senate will stand in a brief recess so that we can greet our special guests, and Senator Lambert can let us know who they are. Senator Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
We're in recess. I think you can
Oh, okay, we're in recess.
go wherever you'd like.
We have, as you see, a number of people from, that live here in Colorado that are members of the community of India that are living here. And there are a few people that I would specifically like to greet today. Mr. Harish, if you could stand up. Mr. Harish is the Consul General to India from Houston, and we appreciate the fact that he has traveled all the way from Houston today to be here for this important resolution. It's been my privilege to know Mr. Harish and his wife and daughter. We've dined together, and just a wonderful family, but also a little sad because Mr. Harish is going to be leaving the United States. He has just been promoted to be the Indian ambassador to Vietnam. So please join me in congratulations to Mr. Harish. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Manu Raval. Mr. Raval, could you stand up? We understand that Mr. Raval is, I believe, 94 now, and one of the few people, probably the only, maybe one or two people in the room who have actually met Mr. Gandhi when he was alive, and we appreciate you being here today. Thank you. Also, Mr. Ved Nanda, I believe, is with us today. Mr. Nanda is, I believe, a professor of international law at the University of Denver and teaches comparative international law to students here in Colorado. So thank you again for being with us today. Then also Dr. M.S. Reddy is here. He is, I think, very worthy of our acquaintance because he is a Nobel Prize nominee, specialist, a doctor, I believe, in nutrition, and was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, I believe, because of his work in nutrition and study of nutrition in Africa. So again, thank you very, very much to all of our guests today, and especially our special guests that I've mentioned. Thank you.
Colleagues, if you'd like to take a moment and greet our guests, and then we will wrap up here shortly. Colleagues, before we come back to order, I'm just going to give you a heads up for what we are doing. We're going to change the order of the calendar. We have a few bills from the supplementals to read across to go to appropriations, but we don't want to hold you here unless you would like to stay here. Of course, you are welcome. We're going to change the order up. We're going to lay a couple things over on the calendar. We're going to push those first reading of bills to the end, and you are free to leave. Have a great long weekend. I hope to run into some of you skiing, or maybe run over some of you who are snowboarding. And we will have announcements as well shortly. So we'll just bear with us. We're trying to accommodate those who are trying to catch planes and get out of town. Senate will come back to order. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. So that we can accommodate those trying to get out of here and do some announcements, at this time I move that the Senate proceed out of order for the purpose of taking up announcements.
You've heard the motion that the Senate proceed out of order. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. We will proceed out of order. Announcements. Senator Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. And members, many of you have already signed the card. Those of you that don't know, we've talked about it before, that former representative. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Former Representative Diane Hoppe is not doing well, so we are circulating a card. If you would like to sign it, Senator Carroll has it now. I will leave it up here with Effie, with the secretary. If you would like to sign the card, I know she would love to hear from you. So thank you, Mr. President.
Colleagues. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hopefully I'll do better at this than the Journal today. But I just want to remind everybody about the Law Enforcement Day on Tuesday, 8 o'clock to 10:30. Law enforcement from all over the state, local, county, and state will be here at 8 to 10:30. Like I said, there will be breakfast and coffee, and when they say breakfast, I hope they mean donuts. So hope to see you all there.
Senator Lundberg, any stereotypical humor for you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, be aware that the committee scheduled on the calendar today will meet as scheduled. However, this is to serve as the public notice that Senate Bill 80, which is scheduled for Wednesday in Business, Labor, and Technology Committee, is going to be moved to the upon adjournment Business, Labor, and Technology Committee meeting on Tuesday. That's Senate Bill 80. Due to some deadlines, the sponsor felt it was best to have that heard, and the chairman concurs. So Senate Bill 80 will be on Tuesday in Business, Labor, and Technology upon adjournment.
Senator Lambert.
Thank you, members. The supplemental packages have been passed over in the House. They were read across this morning, and I would just like to mention that this is day 91 of the JBC's calendar. So this is hump day for us. We've been here for 3 months, and we are now on the downhill slope, and all we have to do is get the supplementals passed, do a budget, and then we're done. So we're almost at the end of the tunnel. So I just want to acknowledge my colleagues from Canyon City and Denver, and we will be meeting. If you are doing any caucusing, it'll be kind of on your own, I think, on Tuesday. We'll be doing the appropriations on all of the supplemental packages on Wednesday, seconds on Thursday, and thirds on Friday. So that'll be the upcoming schedule. Thank you.
Hump day. Further announcements, Senator Holbert.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, sir. Members, 7 years ago, Abraham Lincoln was, as the good senator from Colorado Springs mentioned earlier, born in Ogdenville, Kentucky. It was fascinating for me to learn about Lincoln's life. That was just 32 years and 7 months after a group of founders signed the Declaration of Independence. Just fascinating to think of how soon thereafter President Lincoln was born. I believe he was 54 when he offered the Gettysburg Address. And then just a couple years later, we'll see on April 14th, the assassination attempt occurred at, or the assassination act occurred at Ford's Theater, and then the next morning, the April 15th, he passed away. There's such history in Colorado, though, if we look at when our state became a territory, 1861, the year the Civil War began, the year that President Lincoln took office, and you can see such evidence. I talk with school kids about the clues hidden in plain sight. It's rather like our own version of National Treasure, the movie, but pointing out to kids that Lincoln guards the Capitol complex to the west and Grant to the east, with Sherman running down the center. Another fact for Colorado, we sent a higher percentage of our population to fight in the Civil War than any state at that time. It's just fascinating. We are known as the Centennial State, having become a state in 1876. But as we celebrate his birthday today and Washington's together on Monday, I just encourage you to maybe go read a bit about President Lincoln and the influence that he had not only on our nation and our world, but here in the great state of Colorado. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements? Majority Leader Scheffel.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. Colleagues, I just wanted to not let the day pass as well as we wind down here, acknowledging, as my colleague did, President Lincoln's birthday. As was referenced in President Cadman's opening day speech, I too had the opportunity to go to Gettysburg for a leadership conference, and let me add my voice to the chorus that says if you ever get that opportunity, take it. It's a profound experience to actually learn the historical facts while walking the battlefield. And on this particular day, as I reflect on Lincoln, I am reminded of the unlikely character that he is and the irony. We all now talk about and hold Lincoln in incredible high regard, which is justified. But I think of the particulars. We think of him as this tall, stately figure, dressed impeccably in his black long coat. If you look at history, he was considered a rather gaunt fellow, walked kind of bent over much of the time, was often rumpled. We think of him as this incredible orator. Fact is, his speech, the Gettysburg Address, was really not all that well received that day. He was the second tier speaker of two, and the person that spoke before him went on much longer, much more detailed in content. And so it goes, and it reminds me, we think of him as good-looking. He was actually considered not very good-looking, and on, the irony that is this man that we now hold in high regard. And it occurs to me that oftentimes greatness is achieved, notoriety is achieved in the normal day-to-day trudgery that is life. That's really what he was doing. He was a flawed individual, very human, who was trying to do the right thing under great difficult circumstances, and he ended up being the great uniter, the great individual that he was for our nation. And so greatness is achieved in the steady day-to-day operation, in the normalcy of life, and often not recognized until much later. And so as we celebrate Lincoln's birthday, a good reminder to all of us to carry on, persevere, as we're called upon to do here. So with that, happy birthday, Mr. President Lincoln. And in the absence of any other announcements, we're going to proceed and keep the desk open for a bit here, but that will conclude announcements.
Colleagues, we're going to keep working to get these bills read across, and you are free to leave. Have a great, safe, long, fairly well-deserved weekend.
Diane Fields, Manila.
No, he's going to bring it here so David can pick it up here. But I don't know if you guys have a chance.
Lay over second reading of bills, lay over governor's appointments, and then we'll go to first reading of bills, and we'll just go through the bills. Okay. Okay. So you're going to lay over, this is the next Sunday. It is? Yeah. First reading is before we get to the rest of the stuff. Okay. I didn't have that. It's okay. That's right. Here we go. Right, we didn't have them earlier. Okay. First reading of bills. Okay. First reading of bills. Mr. Majors.
House Bill 1161 by Representative Young and Senator Lambert concerning the allocation of certain monies that exceeds the total amount of all warrants issued by the state treasurer to reimburse local governmental entities for property taxes revenues lost as a result of application of certain property tax exemption.
House Bill 1161 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1237 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Agriculture.
House Bill 1237 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1238 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning a supplemental appropriation to the Department of Corrections.
House Bill 1238 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1239 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning a supplemental appropriation to the offices of the Governor, Lieutenant Governor, of State Planning and Budgeting.
House Bill 1239 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1240 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing.
House Bill 1240 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1241 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Higher Education.
House Bill 1241 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1242 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Human Services.
House Bill 1242 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1243 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Judicial Department.
House Bill 1243 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1244 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Law.
House Bill 1244 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1245 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs.
House Bill 1245 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1246 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Personnel.
House Bill 1246 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1247 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Health and Environment.
House Bill 1247 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1248 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Public Safety.
House Bill 1248 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1249 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Regulatory Agencies.
House Bill 1249 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1250 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of Revenue.
House Bill 1250 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1251 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning supplemental appropriation to the Department of the Treasury.
House Bill 1251 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1252 by Representative Hamner and Senator Lambert concerning funding for capital construction and making supplemental appropriations in connection therewith.
House Bill 1252 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1253 by Representative Hamner and Senator Stedman concerning adjustments in the amount of total program funding for public schools for the 2015-16 budget year and in connection therewith making and reducing an appropriation.
House Bill 1253 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1254 by Representative Young and Senator Grantham concerning post-board trainings concerning wrongs to persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
House Bill 1254 is assigned to the Committee on Appropriations. General orders, second reading of bills. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I move that the balance of the calendar lay over to Tuesday, February 16.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The balance of the calendar will lay over until Tuesday, February 16th. Majority Leader Shuffle.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adjourn to 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 16th. 13, as the Capitol will be closed Monday, February 15.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The Senate will be adjourned until 10 a.m. Tuesday, February 16th.